The Worst of Times, Chapter 3. When I had been younger, the future had seemed a marvelous thing, filled with untold mysteries and greatness. I now wondered why I had ever thought such a thing. The future was neither marvelous nor great. It was filled with corruption, artificial intelligence, and brain rot. There was no hope for the children of the future, who were being taught by AI bots, and whom I doubt had actually learned much or even cared about their education. I crawled back onto my time machine, desiring nothing more than to go back to my present time, where children wrote with pen and paper and were educated by human beings. I was about to go back to 2025, but decided against it at the last minute. I had given the past 25 years of my life for this. I had lost my job, my home, my finances, and even perhaps my family, whom I had not seen for some time. My time and energy would not be wasted. I hopped off the machine, resolving to go for a walk just to see what the normal world was for people 70 years from my time. Everywhere I looked, there were enormous screens projecting their commercials to the people below, all of whom were staring avidly at their phones in their hands, not even bothering with the advertisements on every side of them. There were enormous screens on the sides of skyscrapers, showing advertisements which went by every 5 seconds. As soon as you looked at one, there was another. I considered the 5-second commercials, all playing simultaneously in quick succession, astonished by what some of them were saying. Bombshells from World War III have recently been found and can be purchased by you for only $250. Hurry up, because these will sell pretty fast and you don't want to miss your chance. You can now go on the ultimate honeymoon to the moon for only $500,000. Download the app Artie for AI to do all the work for you. No more long days answering work emails, painstakingly posting your stuff on internet sites. Want to read War and Peace to say you've done something no one the past 2 decades has done? We have a 20-page long summary so you can brag about having read the book. You can buy it on Google for only $50. Something, to me, felt terribly wrong with all these commercials. They were projected so passingly with the bright colors and the AI voices gibbering quickly that one could hardly process the information before the commercial was already over. It seemed to me that they were appealing to laziness, to selfishness, which I supposed most people of 2098 were, at least from what I had seen in the school. But already I was developing an overpowering headache, so I ran back to my machine where there was a bit more peace and quiet. This, I thought, was surely the worst of times. Charles Dickens had once spoken of the best of times and the worst of times, and I vaguely wondered if he had meant the best of times was his time, and the worst of times was the late 21st century. I wanted to know more of these times. I wanted to know more of the future. All those years of my life had been wasted. In that moment, I became so wroth with myself that I desired nothing more than to pound the ground of 2098 with my fists, and weep and wail and scream for the future that was in store for the people of my own time. Just as I was about to clamber back onto my time machine, I felt a hand touch me. I whirled around in anger, only to see a girl standing in front of me. She was, perhaps, 12 or 13 years old, and I immediately knew that she was different from anyone else I had seen in the future. I could not immediately place what was different about her. Perhaps it was the brightness of her eyes, or the liveliness of her face. I do not know. Hello, sir. My name is Lucy. She held out her hand, and I, surprised by her pleasantness, shook it. What's that thing? She pointed to my machine. Is it yours? Yes, I replied. It's a time machine. I'm from 2025 and came here merely out of curiosity. I now deeply regret it. Ah, Lucy said, nodding her head. I sometimes do things I regret as well. I wish that I lived in 2025, or farther back than that. Those sound like the best of times. I regarded her with mild skepticism. She hardly had the reaction to me saying I was from a time 70 years past than I had expected. She seemed to regard it with nonchalance. Did she truly believe my words? You don't doubt my words? Oh no, you are so much more lively than anyone here, and your clothing is just like that in the museum down the street. Are you hot? Not much. The sun isn't terribly hot. Really? I've read that your clothing doesn't change temperature to best fit the temperature outside? Yours does? Yes. When it's hot out, our clothing becomes cooler. When it's cool out, our clothing becomes warmer. My eyes grew wide. Why, that sounds marvelous. Someone who doesn't have our clothing would say that. And it is good at first, I suppose. I heard that people at first were so filled with excitement at AI, they could ask it any question they wanted, and it would be answered immediately. But over time, people became lazy. By 2070, it became hard to distinguish if a book had been written by a person or by AI. If someone wanted to say they were a published author, all they had to do was probe AI to write a story for them, and they could publish it under their name. There no longer is any unique writing style. It is all the same thing. People became too lazy to do much, and their patience and attention span has dipped 70% in the past half a century, according to what I've heard. But no one seems to care. I stood in fascination and rapt attention at what the girl was saying. She was speaking like an old professor of several decades before my time. And what's so terrible about clothes that change temperature according to your comfort? Surely that is a much better thing than AI. What could possibly be wrong with that? I asked. Lucy looked at me gravely. Every invention of the past 70 years has not done anything to truly aid us. They simply make things easier. But that is not such a terrible thing. The terrible thing about it is that it is making us much too used to comfort. It is making everyone believe that they have everything, that they have heaven on earth. Everything is perfect. They have access to unlimited information on the phones in their pockets. They are never uncomfortable. And they never get anything done. Since the end of World War III, things have been worse than ever. One might say the greatness of our world has increased. I might say the opposite. I was astonished at the words coming out of Lucy's mouth, and asked her how she was so different. "Come," she said, beckoning to me. "I will show you." That is the end of Chapter 3. Chapter 4 is coming tomorrow.